Hey everybody, Josh and David here for Whiskey Wednesday for Argonaut Wine and Liquor. Today we are joined by special guest Chris from Mythology Distilling. We've got some awesome mythology products we're going to talk about today, and we've got a couple other things we're going to talk about that we're releasing. So we got a bunch, so let's jump right in. First in the glass is this year's release of Mythology's Forager's Gin. This is something we do every single year. We do a release with you guys for this, and it is such a cool product. You want to tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so this is gin, like you said, we release once a year. Every year the recipe changes. We do this in collaborations with the Denver Botanic Gardens. Super fun process. I actually work with one of the horticulturists there, Blake Berger, an old college friend of Scott's actually. So Blake and I will normally start out around this time of year, like walking through the gardens, just kind of talking about what might be available that kind of fits the flavor profile that we go for. And yeah, so we'll just discuss that, get some ideas, and he'll start collecting samples.
Sure.
Give those to us, I dry them, and I start doing like single botanical distillations.
Oh, cool.
That's super cool. One of the things we always love, and it's kind of vintage, so every year is different, so it's kind of fun thing to collect by two, and you can save year to year and try them side by side.
Can you tell us a little bit about how this year's is different than last year's?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's some overlap in botanicals, but the quantities and overall flavor profile changes. So this year, what we have specifically, juniper, coriander, pretty standard for gin. We have licorice root, angelica root, and then specifically from the gardens, we got lemon balm, lemon verbena, hyssop, and hawthorn berries.
Shout out to Mott's on the lemon verbena. I initially definitely got that coriander on the nose. Not a ton of juniper, but explain why.
So the juniper that we use in this, it's one that I love. It's actually an Italian juniper that has a real fruity pop to it, which blends in nicely with those citrusy elements that we're getting from the verbena and the balm.
Yeah, delicious.
Yeah, definitely. On the palate, I mean, like you said, fruity pop. Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what it is. Right on the front part of your palate, it just, boom, there's a giant, big, fruity flavor right up front. And then you start to get some of those, more herbaceous notes coming on the back end. Really well balanced. I mean, there's not one particular piece of it that kind of overpowers the other. I mean, that's just a super solid drinking gin.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a real passion project for us. And that herbaceous note, that's something that I really like in this. It's delicate, light, and plays well with those citrusy notes, but I feel like it really speaks to that overall kind of story about it. The idea of someone walking through a field, looking through stuff. You get that real sense of those green, floral, citrusy, all those notes in there.
Totally, yeah. And so right now we've got a display of this right up at the front. We've got a bunch available for sale, and Mythology's also doing a cooler giveaway. There's a Yeti cooler. There's also a really cool bartending set that comes in this apron that you guys did. That's really awesome. So come in store to sign up for that, and then let's jump into what else we got in the glass. So that's going to be this guy right here.
Yeah. So this is a Barbados rum finished bourbon.
Wow.
The barrel was a plantation Barbados rum barrel. Something I'm really excited about. We've done a few of these. We just, prior to this, had released a Jamaican rum finish. And for each of these, I actually blended the whiskeys specifically for the barrels that they were going into.
Oh, cool.
Because, I don't know, a lot of times you'll have a really nice complete blend, but you finish it, and some of those notes either, compete with each other or maybe go too heavy in one direction. So in this case, I really made a blend that was a little oaky and dry on its own, but was specifically intended to pair with the notes from that rum barrel.
Yeah, the nose on this, it just jumps out of the glass. I mean, it's big, almost like maple syrup, but also some bright red fruit notes in there. I mean, there's a lot going on that nose.
I get milk chocolate on it.
I could see that too. Yeah, and each one of those categories we just talked about are all over the tasting wheel, right?
Yeah.
So there's definitely a lot going on there.
But super fun.
This is one I was super proud of, super happy with, and I don't know. I always this one in particular, I just think of like sitting in an old library, like those leathery, oaky, pipe tobacco-y kind of notes.
Definitely.
It's just a fun one.
Good job.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah, that's fantastic. This one is not available quite yet. We should have this starting early next week, but definitely don't miss that. That's a fantastic whiskey.
The other rum finished one is available in store currently, though, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's another one. It's fun trying those side by side because the Jamaican rum, you just get those kind of classic Jamaican rum estery fruity notes on that too. So yeah,
Definitely. So up next we have Thunderhoof Rye. This is a 10-year-old rye whiskey.
Yep.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that one.
So like you said, 10-year-old rye whiskey. We got a not super large quantity of these barrels. Kind of opportunity came up a couple years ago, and we decided to sit on them until they were 10 years old. A couple of them went to single barrels, but the majority decided to do in 8 distinct releases. So this is the first one. Just really fun. Each release is intended to be unique, and so they'll change batch to batch. But yeah, this one is, like I said, the first release of it, one that we're really excited about. Actually just won, or it was announced last night, a Platinum Award from Fred Minnick's Ascot Awards. So yeah, like I said, something we're super proud of.
Yeah, and the nose is awesome. It's super dilly. Like you get that big, I mean, almost to like dill pickle type of nose, which I really like on a rye. I was actually up at your guys' facility yesterday up in Steamboat, and we were talking about an event that we might do up there, and I would love to just make a Manhattan with this, like a really badass Manhattan with that would be awesome.
Having done it, I'll tell you, it's really good.
Yeah, fair enough.
On the palate, I kind of get almost a licorice.
Yeah, I know.
Interesting to me.
Exactly what you mean. So there are those like dilly licorice. She's kind of like herbaceous elements to it. But just from that extra time in the barrel, you get a lot of those like round caramely, just baking spices, a lot of
Definitely
sweet round. Yeah, and we bottled it at 102 proof. We played around a lot with, what proof is a brand new product. And that was just one that we all kind of settled on. And
yeah, it's got a really nice, mid-palate spice, definitely full-bodied. I mean, like I said, that would be unreal in a Manhattan.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's got a nice spice to it, but it's very easy drinking.
Definitely.
No hug.
Definitely like a rye drinker's rye, though.
Yeah,
like if you like
It is a rye drinker's.
the kind of sweeter ryes that have, higher corn content, this might not be up your alley, but for someone who really likes a good just rye whiskey and what it's supposed to be, that I feel like that's exactly what this is.
Yep. And kind of the idea behind it.
Yeah. And then also we're releasing 2 of our newest Buffalo Trace single barrels. So right now in the store, both of these lined up just behind the whiskey aisle. So those are available for purchase as we speak. And as David and I have talked about a bunch on here, what I really love about the Buffalo Trace single barrel program is the variety. Like, we've had barrels that have been next to each other in the rick house, completely different flavor profiles. So I'm really interested to see, what these 2 are like.
So we got 421. Right now we're trying 267.
So yeah, on 267, I mean, just big butterscotchy nose. It's kind of interesting going from this to this because it's obviously this is much sweeter, much more of those caramel vanillas, the dilly, all that is gone. But I mean, just big butterscotch. That's what I get on the nose.
Absolutely.
This one's not your classic, what I would say classic Buffalo Trace single barrel where you get that cherry bomb. Though this is more like a little bit older style.
Yeah, probably a little bit more oaky.
Yeah, oaky.
Definitely, again, the butterscotch is still there on the palate. But, I mean, just a really good, more of not a classic Buffalo Trace barrel, but more of a classic bourbon barrel, right?
Exactly,
yeah.
And again, right now we're trying 421.
Thank you. All right, so yeah, 421. Ooh, that's got like a little bit of like a dusty quality on the nose that that definitely wasn't there in the first one.
I would say neither of these are what I would consider my classic beach race picks, but
Right.
still great. Never a bad one.
Wow. So that's what we call a porch pounder.
Yeah.
It's super light. Not obviously not thin. The flavor hangs around on your tongue for a while, but it's it's light. It's easy drinking. There's not a ton of like mid palate burn or spice. It's just sweet up front, and it just hangs out on your palate for a while.
This might be kind of unpopular, but I kind of get a little bit of a citrus note on
Yeah,
this one.
I could definitely see that.
On the
Definitely
back
some
end.
of the brighter notes.
Kind of
in
odd
there.
going through all of these to go back to what you would get out of a gin, but whatever. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the fun thing about, like Josh said, when we get these barrels, they're all different and they're not expensive and great everyday drinkers.
Yeah.
And what do they get you entries for, Josh?
Yeah, and so because obviously these guys are both part of our single barrel program, and we're going to include foragers on this as well. If you purchase any of these bottles, get an extra receipt from your cashier, fill out the form at the wine desk in the middle of the store, throw it in the box for the opportunity to purchase this bottle of Pappy Van Winkle 20 year. So that's something really exciting, a literal unicorn bottle. But yeah, we'll be drawing for that towards the end of the month. And so while you're down, grab some single barrels, come on down, give them a shot. Cheers.